Today, we're talking about the metaverse, especially in the wake of Zuckerberg's rebranding Facebook to Meta. And we just talked about this a few weeks ago, but now it's starting to blow up, as you know, I was talking about when we talked about it last time. And it is so incredibly important that we need to do another talk about this. And we will probably do more in the future as it continues to develop. Because when I say that the war for reality is here, that's not some kind of clickbaity title or something like that. I mean it. Because the metaverse is coming, and when it first comes out, it might not be a success right away. It might be a little hard to get going. It might be a little silly at first, but nevertheless, it will get huge, and this has incredible implications for us in the world, because I want you to think about something. Look at your smartphone and look at how much it has radically transformed the world. Everyone has one. Social media is huge. That's how everyone consumes content. That's how everyone creates content. That's how people are made. Businesses collapse, societies rise. All these different things occur via social media now. That's the world that we live in. Now, I want you to think back 20 years ago. 20 years ago, a cell phone, all it could do is make phone calls and barely send text messages. Now, look at the monumental effects that it has on the world. And if you told someone back then, 20 years ago, that phones would do that, they would probably think you were insane. So what I want to really get across is that the metaverse is going to be like how the internet radically changed everything and how social media and smartphones radically changed things. That's what's going to happen here, but unlike anything that we've seen before. And like I said, it might be a rocky start, might be kind of silly at first because the technology is very new. And we don't know exactly what it's going to look like right now, but nevertheless, it will happen. And why this is so important is because as VR, the technology develops, it gets more and more advanced, it is going to start taking over reality. And if you think that sounds far out, it's already happening. Look at your smartphones. Look at how much time you spend on them. Look at how we already have a digital reality taking over this reality. It's already happened. If you haven't realized it yet, it's already here. It's not something that's going to happen in the future. This has happened. Now, with Meta, the metaverse, that's going to be even on such a larger scale, and it's only going to continue to increase. Now, I want to say right off the bat that I am not necessarily, I'm not at all. I am not against technology or new innovations. I am very pro forward-thinking developments in technology, etc. But what is very important to understand is that it depends whose hands it is in and how that technology is being used. There's a very important difference there. So this is something that we need to talk about, and we need to understand what's coming and what we can try to do to, prepare for all this, because this is, like I said, and I am not exaggerating, it is a war for reality. So we're going to see today, I'm going to look at a couple different articles, things about this. We're going to look at where the future could head in different scenarios and what it means for us and the world at large. So I'm really excited to be streaming here with you guys today. It's going to be a really good one. This is something that I am very passionate about, and I look forward to talking to this about you, because it is a really big deal, and I don't think people really grasp the enormity of it. And again, like I said, it could be a good thing or a bad thing. I'm not knocking the idea. I'm knocking the individuals who are coming into control of it, because as we see, Zuckerberg bidding for control over the metaverse, that has huge implications for the future. Meta, the metaverse, it's coming. Now, remember, when it first gets started, it might seem kind of silly at first. It's probably going to just be sort of, a platform where you can play games and chat with people and interact with people, but it's probably going to be a little weird. It's probably going to take a little while for it to really catch on, just like the internet. Remember when the internet first came out? Was America Online? It took forever to even connect. You had to make sure that you weren't on the phone. It just wouldn't work sometimes. It would take hours to download one song. When you could even download songs, it took a while, right? So expect the metaverse to be a little rough at first. It might even seem kind of laughable at first. Same thing with phones. 20 years ago, you had a phone. All it could do was make calls and barely send text messages. Now, 20 years later, look at the power of smartphones and social media and how it has completely changed the world. So what I'm saying is that Metaverse might seem relatively benign or even kind of silly or like something that you wouldn't even use in the beginning. But mark my words, regardless of what it's called, if it's called the Metaverse or something like that, whatever it is, this technology that is virtual reality and augmented reality and everything that goes with it will begin to take over more and more, just like the internet, just like social media, but on a much grander scale. And the reason why we're talking about this and the reason why that this is so important is because you can see Zuckerberg preparing for this. And Zuckerberg is so confident in this that not only is he throwing billions of dollars and teams of people at this, but he has changed the name of Facebook to Meta. Now, you know that someone like Zuckerberg is not going to do that unless he is making a big power move and is very confident. That's a big stake to make by altering the name of the company to reflect that. So what's happening is, look at the monopoly or almost a monopoly that Facebook has on social media. Zuckerberg is making a play right now to do the same thing for the metaverse. And imagine how much power that a person can have if they monopolize this technology, because it will start to take over reality. Just look at how smartphones have already, if you think that that's silly, no, smartphones have already taken over reality. In just such a small amount of time, everyone has a smartphone. People are constantly looking at their phones, constantly updating their profiles, constantly thinking about the next TikTok they can post, constantly thinking about the next, way they can do this certain thing to promote themselves or one up the algorithm. Anyway, what I mean is you can see how dramatically that social media and smartphones have altered reality. Metaverse, VR, AR technology will do the same thing, but on an exponentially higher level. It might take a while to get started. It might seem kind of silly at first. Eventually, it will happen. Might be 5 years, might be 10 years, might be 15 years, might be 20 years, who knows, but it will happen. And when you have someone like Zuckerberg trying to essentially monopolize that, it's a bit like trying to monopolize reality. And you can see how frightening that can be. So I mean it. It is literal when I say that we are in a war for reality right now. Now, I am not against technological advancement. I am a huge promoter. I'm a huge supporter of advancing technologically. I am not one of those people that think, oh man, we just need to go back to how we were living hundreds of years ago or thousands of years ago when we didn't have any technology and we just lived in nature. No. Technology is excellent. Advancements in technology and medicine, etc. I am all for that. But it is how you use it. And that's the important thing here. I am not against the metaverse as what it is in itself. I am against how it can be used if someone like Zuckerberg, a private company who has no interest in your health and well-being, but only has an interest in pleasing the advertisers and making money for the elite. That is the issue that I have. Because Zuckerberg does not give a fuck about you. Do you think? No, he sells your information. He creates a platform that is designed specifically to be addictive and to please advertisers. It's designed to suck your life away and keep you on that phone no matter what. And why? Simply to please advertisers. Now, we could build an entirely new world where the metaverse could be used as a beautiful thing, where we could connect people together. It can be optimized to giving you a better life. And that's what I always say. Imagine in the future. Right now, the algorithm is optimized to keep you addicted on their platform as much as possible for the purpose of pleasing advertisers. What you are shown and what you are not shown is based on what advertisers want to put their ads on so that they can make money. That's it. Imagine a world where we had social media that was optimized to give you the best experience possible. What if social media was optimized so that it was giving you the best possible life, all the relevant information that you need to know, all the things that help you actualize as a person? And that's not an insane idea. Again, people always think that these ideas that I talk about, oh, they're wild, they're utopian, they're crazy. No, it should be common sense. It should be obvious. The fact that it's not, and the fact that people think it's a utopian pipe dream, only goes to show how fucking brainwashed this world is. Trying to live in a world where we are not killing each other constantly, where people are not starving, where people are not being made slaves by corporate masters, is not a utopian pipe dream. It should be common fucking sense. But that just shows how brainwashed this world is. Right now it's this trash planet, but the good news is that we can clean it up. We can make it into a brilliant new world. We can make it into a, like we say, New Terra, our unconquerable citadel on the hill. We can do that. And that's why right now we are engaged in this war for reality, because humanity is going to have two choices. Is it going to go with the bullshit corporate elite that don't care anything, don't give a fuck about you? They just care about fattening their wallets and will lead the world into destruction. Or will you choose the other path where we face them head on, change the world, remove them from power, and completely build an entirely new world where everyone has the equal opportunity to flourish, where we have a new society that is teleologically optimized to bring out the best in every single individual. And that's not a fucking pipe dream. That is just square one. Once we do that, that's when we can really start living. That's when we can really start building magnificent experiences for all of us. Anyway, we have a lot to talk about today, and I'm not even done with the intro, and I'm going on a rant here. And the reason why is just because this is something that I am extremely passionate about, and nobody sees it. Everyone is just a blind. I know you guys aren't. You guys are awesome. But when I say everybody, I'm not including you. I'm talking about the masses out there. I'm talking about the people that don't see it. They have their eyes closed. They have their eyes shut because they are led by the blind God, blind leading the blind. So I'm using that as a metaphor, of course, but you know what I mean. So let's bring this up because there is an article that I want to read from. And this article is, let's see. Man, we have a lot to talk about. So let's get this going. This is from IAI.tv, and they're an awesome website. They have very great articles. So this is called The Danger of Zuckerberg's Metaverse. And we're going to just read a little bit from here, and I'm going to tell you my opinion on these different things. So Facebook's latest project, the Metaverse, promises a future of virtual realities and experiences beyond the constraints of the physical world. And I really want to get this across because I even saw someone in the chat say, no, this is not going to happen. The Metaverse is just it's just a 3D game and chat system. No. Again, that's like 20 years ago saying phones aren't going to change the world. They just make calls and send text messages. Oh, really? The internet's just, you can just send emails to people. That's not going to change anything. Oh, really? So the metaverse might start off that way. It might start off as just gaming and chat, but that it will transform. It will change into something else. And again, I don't know how long this will take. It might even start and then fail because the technology might not be there yet. But even if it does, it will come back again. It's inevitable that VR, AR technology, as it develops, it's still in its infancy stage. It's still in early development. So again, it might fail at first. I don't know. But regardless, it will happen. It's inevitable. So Facebook's latest project, it's not even called Facebook anymore. It's called Meta. So Meta's latest project, the Metaverse, promises a future of virtual realities and experiences beyond the constraints of the physical world. And I have nothing against that. That's awesome. But think about who controls it and what their motives are going to be and why he's trying to monopolize that. But a thought experiment by Robert Nozick provides a cautionary tale for why we should be wary of stepping into simulated realities. Living a virtual life, no matter how full of novel experiences, success, and pleasure, is not as fulfilling as it might sound. And even if we occasionally like to give in to the allure of fantasy, we should be cautious about entering a universe curated by a company accused of putting profits over the well-being of its users. The metaverse might be the ultimate distraction machine from the company's troubles and from what we most care about. Now, here's the thing. I don't agree with everything in this article, and because this article seems to be more or less against simulated realities in general. I am not against the idea of simulated realities. simulated realities. Now, let me tell you, I talk about this a lot. I talk you the purpose of planets. What is the purpose of planets? The purpose of planets is to facilitate monadic minds to come here to evolve, grow, and learn together. Eternal minds creating a system, a network system together. Eventually, I talk about this all the time. Eventually, we will grow in our technology and our symmetry, our harmony, and our evolution. All of these factors will contribute eventually to us being able to form our own mental network where we will be able to generate our own dream world, facilitated by technology, facilitated by our mental evolution. All these things will be stepping stones to getting to this point. And this metaverse is a step towards that. You know, if you don't see that, open your eyes. It's a step towards that. This is it's on its way to being that. And that's why I say, you know, theoretically, if you were to go out and find a planet where it had traces of civilization that was never there, you might think, oh, well, maybe that civilization died, or maybe they nuked each other or something, or was, you know, somehow made themselves go extinct. That may very well be the case, but it could also possibly be the case that they had evolved to the point of creating that network consciousness where they no longer needed that physical planet. Just like a plant that grows no longer needs the husk of the seed. It has fulfilled its purpose as being the incubator for the plant. Same kind of idea with planets here. But we're getting way off topic, and you know that's another thing in its entirety. But just know that VR, the metaverse, is a stepping stone for that. Now, do we want some bullshit corporations and people who are only interested in their own private interests being in control of that? Absolutely not. So let's move through this kind of fast because we have a lot to talk about. If you've been living in the real world for the last week or so, you'll no doubt be aware that Facebook, now Meta, CEO Mark Zuckerberg has been making a lot of noise about something he calls the metaverse. By employing supposedly cutting-edge virtual reality technology, Zuckerberg believes that the metaverse will be the successor to mobile internet and will allow people wherever they are in the world to feel present like we're right here with people no matter how far apart we actually are. What Zuckerberg wants us to believe is that the future will be one in which we can all inhabit a virtual universe beyond the real world, where we are not confined by the particularities, geographical, but also perhaps financial, physical, or professional, of the lives we currently live. Again, please keep your eyes open, okay? Because I show you guys these things that the ideas we talk about are called crazy, but they are not. And I show you guys every single week almost articles, news, whether it's science or philosophy or in the technological world, that shows that everything we're talking about is slowly moving in that direction, from everything from quantum mechanics to physics to cosmology to philosophy to technology. It's all moving that direction. If you don't see that, you know, please know the place that you are in history. Realize it, you know, because again, they're going to be talking about us in the future in history books. So realize what's going on right now, be a part of the future now, help us move the world in the right direction so we are not moved into this corporate nightmare where your entire life, you know, do you really want to be bowing before Emperor of the Universe, Zuckerberg and Bezos? I know that sounds kind of funny, but we're not far off from that situation. And unless we do something to steer the world in another direction, we're going to be in that situation. So that's why I always talk about why it's so important that we're in the middle of a war of the mind. This is a war of ideas. We need to spread truth. We need to spread knowledge. We need to spread this information so we can begin to educate people. People will wake up and we can change the course. So there are, of course, the usual concerns to do with the Facebook corporation, now rebranded as Meta, the various legal battles, et cetera, privacy violations, whistleblower revelations that Facebook puts astronomical profits before people, has little concern for the well-being of others. So timing of the rebranding and the pivoting to a technology that in fact has existed for many years are signs of the company trying to run away from its problems and ensure profitability forevermore. So, you know, Facebook or Meta is facing a lot of scrutiny right now. So in addition, they're trying to pivot away from that by moving rebranding as Meta and entering into this new platform of the metaverse. So, but aside from these glaring questions, there was another, perhaps more existential kind of concern that Zuckerberg's plan for the metaverse raises. Should we want to spend time in a virtual world that is like the real one, but not quite? So this is important. We're going to talk about this a lot because this article is a little against the idea of simulated realities. I am not. I think simulated realities are a fantastic course because, like I said, it is a stepping stone for us to get to that point where we are working together in harmony and building our own reality. It's a stepping stone to that, abso-fucking-lutely. But I am very much against this technology being in the hands and controlled by corporate taskmasters. So, let's see. So in Anarchy, State, and Utopia, published in 1974, philosopher Robert Nozick asks us to imagine that we have the opportunity to plug ourselves into an experience machine. This involves placing yourself in a tank run by scientists who are able to simulate your brain in such a way that as far as you're concerned, you are having the most wonderful experiences. The experience machine can be programmed to make you feel you are living the life of a great novelist, one full of fulfilling relationships, or one full of hedonistic extravagance. So here's the idea. There's this philosophical thought experiment called the experience machine, where it says, imagine that you are simply a brain floating in a vat, but it's run by scientists that can, say, manipulate your brain to give you any experience that you want. Hedonistic lifestyle, as if you were an amazing actor or whatnot. And so that's the thought experiment that's called the experience machine. And basically it's the Matrix, okay? Have you ever seen the movie The Matrix? Same thing. People are in pods strapped up to this machine and they enter into the Matrix. Same idea, except in the experience machine, they're given a fantasy rather than just a copy of the world, sort of like the Matrix does, right? But in essence, same idea as the Matrix, okay? So the Facebook metaverse would appear to be a kind of experience machine, aka Matrix. It's unclear as yet what life in the metaverse will look like, but it seems unlikely that we will be able to live whatever kind of life we want to live. What's more, in Nozick's thought experiment, anyone plugged into the experience machine, or Matrix, is unaware that their experiences aren't real. Nonetheless, Zuckerberg is promising to give us the chance to have certain experiences virtually that we cannot have in real life, such as being with faraway loved ones. So some analogies with the experience machine stand. So Nozick believed that the natural intuitive response to an invitation to spend one's life hooked up to the experience machine is no. He offers 3 reasons why someone would turn down this opportunity. He argues we want to do certain things and not just to have the experience of doing them. In other words, if I am someone who wants to write a great work of fiction, then Nozick argues I want to actually do it, not just have a simulated experience of doing it. We're going to go through this kind of quickly. Second, these are the arguments against the idea of the experience machine or simulated realities or a Matrix type situation. So second, Nozick explains that we want to be a particular kind of person, not just the experience of it. Like, for example, you might want to be a type of person who writes great fiction rather than just have the experience of being a great author. Nozick points out that there is something less valuable or meaningful about living in a simulated reality determined by the whims of another person. The real world, Nozick seems to think, is of more intrinsic value than any simulated reality, even if the experience of it offers are less enjoyable. So if Nozick is right, our desire to be closer to loved ones is not going to be satisfied by just feeling like we're closer to them without actually being closer. All right, so there are a couple things I want to point out here. We have a lot to get through, so I'm going to skip over all this here. If you want to read this, check out iai.tv. They're awesome. Okay, so I'm going to skip over a little bit of this part here. So basically, I want to explain something though. So Nozick, we have two different things we're talking about. One, simulated realities in general. Two, the idea of private interests, corporate individuals, aka people like Zuckerberg, being in control of it. So two different things, the idea of simulated realities in general and the idea of private interest being in control of that reality, such as Facebook, aka Meta now. I am not against the idea of simulated realities in general, whereas Nozick is. Let me explain why. So Nozick is against it because he thinks that the real world has more value than a simulated world. And for example, if you are just given the experience of being a famous celebrity, like a famous author, well, that's different than actually being a famous author and going through the process of writing a book. And then the idea of, well, being close to loved ones in a virtual reality is not the same as being actually close to loved ones. Let me explain something important here. So let's imagine this idea of the metaverse not in the hands of corporate billionaires, but in let's say a Hyperion world where our goal is the optimization and to give you the best experience and the best life possible. So what Nozick is talking about is hooking you up to a machine that just feeds you pleasure and fantasy. Yeah, that's bad. In a Hyperion world, you would, let's say, not be hooked up to a machine that's just feeding you pleasure and fantasy. What we want to do is build a world and utilize technology to give you the best and most actualized life possible. So for example, and this goes to the same thing with phones and whatnot, right? Like I talk about this where I say, right now, phones, the algorithm is designed to keep you addictive, keep you on there, and keep you watching ads. That's it. They want to suck your life away just to keep you watching ads. Well, imagine when you're in a reality, an entire reality that has the same purpose, to keep you constantly immersed, constantly on there, so you can watch whatever fucking, pop-up or bullshit that's in your reality now. I've talked about this before where they were talking about this a while ago, I think when Google Glasses came out. This didn't actually happen, but they were talking about these ideas where you would have Google Glasses and then you'd have augmented reality overlaid. So basically, for example, imagine you're going to the grocery store and then you're at the grocery store and one of the bananas pops out and goes, "Oh, buy me, I'm on sale today." So that would be the kind of idea. You're just walking around living your life and there's constant ads and advertisements all over the place. So anyway, what I want to say is that if you were living in a Hyperion world, this technology would not be utilized to just give you hedonistic fantasies. You could do that occasionally. Nothing wrong with that. You want to have some fantasies sometimes. That's fun. So occasionally, yeah. But it wouldn't be just this like constant stream of hedonistic fantasy. Because what is life about? The goal of Hyperionism is to actualize the potential of every individual. So we would not want to, for example, give someone just the experience of being a great author, not just the fantasy of it. We want to give people the tools to actually be a great author, for example, or a great musician or a great philosopher or a great mathematician. So do you see a difference? You can be hooked up to a machine where, oh, you're just living a fantasy. Like people are coming up to you and saying, "Oh man, I loved your book, you're amazing," but you never actually wrote a book. It's just the fantasy of it. The difference is that, yeah, we would be completely against that scenario, unless you're just doing it occasionally for fun. Because we all need a break, we all need a fantasy sometimes, and that's great. That's why we talk about creating Dionysian zones in Nutera. But the big thing to understand here is that we want to give people the tools to actualize themselves. So do you see the difference between living a hedonistic world of pleasure and fantasy versus living an actualized life? One of them, you're just, say, given the experience of being a famous author. The other, you're giving the tools so that you can actually create a book and express yourself. You're giving the tools that you need to become the best person that you are, not just live in a hedonistic fantasy. You see the difference? It's also kind of like the difference of living in a world where you are given all the tools you need to live the best life possible. For example, you're giving universal basic income, access to free healthcare, access to the best education possible, access to free therapy, your access to like absolutely everything that you need, not to just survive but to thrive. That's what we want to do. Whereas the other idea, if it was just a hedonistic world, imagine just, for example, snorting coke 24/7 all the time. Yeah, right? That might be fun. It's not healthy. You're going to become addicted and you're going to die. Okay? So do you see the huge difference between sort of what Robert Nozick is talking about as being hooked up to some experience machine that's just constantly feeding you pleasure and fantasy, contrasted with using the technology of the metaverse to make you a more actualized individual? So do you see there are many different extremes here? It's not the idea of simulated realities that are wrong. It's how they are used. So Nozick's idea is wrong. Zuckerberg's idea is wrong. Zuckerberg's idea to keep you just addicted in this corporate machine so that they can make money, yeah, that's hellish. Nozick's idea that you would just be constantly fed hedonistic fantasy 24/7, yeah, that's not going to develop you as a person either. But that's not what we're talking about. It would be used in such a way to give you the most actualized and satisfying life possible. That's not the same thing as blind hedonistic fantasy. That's, again, the difference between just snorting coke 24/7 or, having a fulfilled life by getting every single level of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Survival needs, safety needs, social needs, esteem needs, self-actualization needs, and transcendent needs. We want to, all the different levels of the Maslow's hierarchy we want to give to you. You see the big difference? It might sound kind of subtle, but there's a huge difference, okay? So, simulated realities, I am not against in any way, shape, or form. The reason why, again, is because it's a tool to be used. That would be like being against the internet. That's just silly. The internet gives us extreme power. I am communicating right now to you because of technology and the internet. Previously, I would not have been able to do this. It's powerful. And also, remember that in actuality, we already live in a kind of simulated reality. Technically, not exactly. It's not like we all are strapped into a pod like in the Matrix with VR headsets on. No, that's not the case. But remember, we are all eternal monadic minds. So our existence in the space-time world is already a sort of simulated reality. In actuality, we are all eternal minds that exist in a source singularity. The fact that we exist in a world of so-called physicality and have distance separating us, that is already a kind of an illusion. So it's not the idea of simulated realities that are in and of itself bad. They can be an extremely powerful tool. And like I said, they are a stepping stone to get us to that point that I talk about, where we are all connected and then creating our dream worlds, our own dream realities. Because imagine that time when we do get to that state of evolution, where we no longer even need to rely on a physical world. We'll be able to generate our own dream reality. And then we'll actually literally be able to experience each other's dream worlds. We'll have this one dream reality that we've created together as a collective, and then we'll be able to enter into a universe created by another person. So instead of getting to know another person by, listening to the music they've created or seeing a piece of art they've created, we'll be able to step into an entire universe created by them. Imagine how that'll be. Instead of watching horror movies or mystery movies or whatnot, we can step into entire universes that are geared to giving us a entertaining experience like that. It's not all going to be entertaining, right? But that's just one example, right? Instead of watching movies, we can step into a universe. Instead of watching Lord of the Rings, we'll be able to step into a fantasy universe. That's the level that we get to when we create that network and can start to get to the point where we're generating our own realities. And again, if people think, you're crazy, that's far out there. Come on, please open your eyes. VR is obviously a step towards that. Come on. If you can't see it, please learn to think outside of the current time you were born in. Learn to have some foresight. It's clear as day that that's coming, and VR is a stepping stone towards that. So, let's see. I don't know if you can hear the sirens out there. They're coming for me, apparently. Let's see. So I just wanted to point out, finally, that I am not against simulated realities in general. I am against what Nozick is talking about, just pure hedonistic fantasy. And I am against what Facebook wants to do as far as monopolizing, at a certain point, reality. It's going to get to that point where, again, it's going to be, if we take it to its omega point, we think about where it's going. If Zuckerberg is successful and the metaverse takes off and we start to be more and more involved in virtual realities, so it starts to take over our actual reality. Again, if you think that's far-fetched, look at how much social media has already taken over your life. So imagine that we will enter into a Matrix-like situation very rapidly. Because what happens in the Matrix? You have people plugged into this machine, and they are being used as batteries by those that run the Matrix. That's the premise of the Matrix. Same thing will happen. Not exactly the same. You know what I mean. Where you are in a virtual reality world for most of the time, because look how much you use social media. A lot of the time. You will be in a virtual world for much of the time that is controlled by corporate and private interest that will look at you as nothing but a battery. You think they care about you? They don't give a fuck about you. They look at you as a battery. They look at you as a source of profit. That's it. They want to suck your life away, just making sure that you have enough energy left to work for them and to have more to reproduce, to create more consumers and more workers. That's it. That's it. You are a battery to them. So we will enter into a Matrix-like scenario very quickly. Now, when I say very quickly, I don't mean in the next 5 years or something, but you get where I'm going with this. If anyone has any kind of foresight, you can see this. And I know you guys do. When I get a little steamed about this, it's not because of you guys. It's because of I know you guys see this, all right? So whenever I get into these passionate rants, it's because of my frustration with the rest of the world. They cannot see what is clearly happening. So what we need to do is, again, spread this information, spread knowledge, so we can be steering into a world where we're not saying no metaverse, but we're using it as a tool, rather, to help each and every one of us evolve and in a stepping stone, and use it as a stepping stone to get us to that point where we are able to work together in harmony and create our own worlds. But most importantly, so that it is used for your actualization, to actualize your potential, actualize your growth, not as a battery to be sucked its energy away. You see the difference? You can either be thought of as a battery, or we can think of the world and its people as a garden. You can think of people as a source of energy to suck away and use for your own good, or as a beautiful garden where everyone is a seed and you want to put them in an environment where everyone can flourish and grow. Huge difference here. Huge difference. So perhaps the most importantly, given the controversy surrounding Zuckerberg, plugging oneself into the metaverse would involve plugging into a world no deeper or more important that which people can construct. The people in question in the case of the metaverse are Facebook people. See, that's where I have an issue. I don't have an issue with people constructing worlds. I have an issue with it being greedy, private, interest, rich elite. Things that I can't say on social media. So, if it is true that Zuckerberg and his team care about profit more than people, if it is true, I wonder, does the guy who invented Facebook, who created Facebook originally, to be a platform where you can measure and vote on the hotness of women. Do you think he cares about you? Let me think. No, he doesn't give a fuck. So, we should seriously question whether we want to become a part of a simulated universe that they have designed. Zuckerberg's rhetoric certainly suggests that the aim of the metaverse will be to bring us joy. Oh, I'm sure. What's he going to say? Oh, yeah, I'm going to... You really think he's going to say anything else? Of course not. No shit. He says it's going to bring you joy. What's he going to say? Oh, yeah, hey, guess what, guys? I'm here to monopolize reality and plug you into the system where I'm making tons of profit off you and you can't do shit about it. You know, if you violate any of my rules, forget about getting a Facebook 30-day ban. I'll ban you from reality for 30 days. Yeah, you think he's going to say that kind of shit? No. Of course he's going to say it's this aim to, oh, I just want to bring the world joy. After all, how many of us seriously enjoy most, if any, of our online experiences today? And that's a sad thing, because the internet and social media doesn't have to be this horrible system. We can create it and use it to our advantage. So, however, we should remember, or we should not forget, that the metaverse is not a neutral virtual reality. It is a platform that is carefully curated and promoted by a private company. We might enjoy blurring the lines between what is real and what isn't, including ourselves, but that blurring can engender risk we shouldn't ignore. Facebook's ability to distract us and hijack our attention is well documented. And there's a danger that an even more enticing digital landscape could end up being even more distracting to the detriment of our mental and indeed physical health. What's more, even without virtual reality technology, the internet already has the ability to render the line between truth and falsity unclear, or even to invert the spectrum entirely. Remember when we talked about the inversion in that video I put out, where the real seems false and the false seems real? Think about how much more that could happen. And we should not forget that in many instances, Facebook has been at the heart of this. There's nothing intrinsically wrong with indulging in the fantasy of other worlds. But when they are controlled by a private company, driven by motives that often don't align with our own interests, we should think very carefully about entering them. In other words, we ought to think twice before plugging in to Zuckerberg's experience machine, Zuckerberg's matrix, the metaverse. And here's the thing, guys. This is stuff that we've been talking about for a long time. We've been talking about this for a long time, but you're seeing it happen now. You're seeing this happen. The reason why I bring these articles and we take a look at these articles, they're not really necessary. We've been saying this forever. The reason why I even show these articles within the realm of technology, within the realm of quantum physics, within the realm of cosmology, within the realm of philosophy, the reason why I do that is because there's some people out there who think that what we say is going to happen is not going to happen, or that we have some skewed idea of reality. The reason why I show this information is to show people who are skeptics out there that there is so much evidence from the mainstream that is moving us closer and closer and closer to what we're talking about. This isn't, you guys don't need to know this. This is stuff we know. This is stuff we talk about. But this is the information we need to spread. This is the stuff we need to get out there. This is the stuff we need to wake up the world to. Because again, when I say we are in a war for reality, that is not some bullshit clickbait title. That is where we are. How long have we been saying we're in a war of the mind? What do you think that is? That's a war of reality. It's becoming more and more prevalent now that we can see with developments of things like Metaverse, the things, all these things coming to fruition that we have been talking about forever. Again, and people continuously think that what we are talking about is far-fetched. Come on. Come on, it's clear as day if your eyes are even slightly cracked open. So here's the main points here. Metaverse in itself, is it bad? No. It being run by a private corporation, it is terrible. And it could very quickly lead to a Matrix-like situation. It absolutely could. So, Metaverse in itself, not bad. I am absolutely pro technology. I am using technology right now to communicate with you. I am pro the creation of simulated realities because this is a stepping stone to get us to that point that I talk about when we are creating that network mind and being able to generate our own realities because of our mental evolution, because of our understanding of technology, because of our harmony together. And also, don't get me wrong, when the metaverse comes out and when it's, past its testing phase and starts to become successful, because who knows how long that will take, I am going to use it. Absolutely. So I don't want any people coming in here going like, oh, look at this hypocrite. He was talking about the metaverse. Now he's using it. Of course I'm going to use it. Just like I use social media, because that's the tool that we are given to spread information. So yes, absolutely, I will use it. Absolutely. So main points to take away here. Simulated realities in general, are they bad? No, they're not. We could use them to dramatically increase our optimization, our quality of life, and giving us fun, beautiful, wonderful experiences, fantasies. We can optimize, we can grow, we can learn, we can have fun, all these beautiful experiences that we can have. I am not against simulated realities in any way, except for when they are used as a destructive mechanism, which that is absolutely where it's headed right now. Absolutely. Just like social media is designed to be addictive, to use you simply as a tool to gain profit. They're just giving you crack through your phones and they don't care that it's killing you. They don't care. They don't give a fuck. Same thing will happen right here with the development of the metaverse. No matter how long it takes, it could be quick, it could be long, who knows? But it will happen unless we can spread information. And here's the thing. The metaverse will most likely occur, and we will most likely have to use that system to spread the information. Just like we use social media, even though social media is a toxic, addictive creation as it's used right now. Not in general. I would be absolutely for positive social media. Absolutely. But we still use it to spread information. Same thing is going to happen with Metaverse. We will have to utilize it to spread information. But that's the important takeaway that I want to get across here. Things to remember. Simulated realities in and of themselves, are they bad? No. We basically live in a simulated reality already. Not tech, you know what I mean. You know what I mean. We live in a mathematical reality. Simulated realities in and of themselves, no, not bad. They are a stepping stone in our evolution. Realities governed by corporate, private, interest, rich elite assholes, that's the problem. That is the issue. So let's remember that. Let's see it for what it is. And let's have the foresight to see that it's a stepping stone into our evolution. It is a path to everything that we've been talking about and our goals and what will eventually happen to the earth. I mean, we're a long way from that, but it's a stepping stone. We have to create a new Terra and do all these, everything that comes along with that in the interim. But we must be aware that it will be used for private interests and making the money, not for your well-being. So keep that in mind. Be aware. Keep your wits about you, and let's spread this information. That's why I always say share these videos, talk about it, do whatever you can, because that's the whole point. We're in a war of the mind. This is not a physical war. We are in a war of the mind. We are in a war of ideas. It is a very Matrix-like scenario. And we, those who are unplugged from the Matrix, need to wake up those who are not plugged in so that we can ultimately take it over. Really reclaim what is ours. Because it is ours. We are the creators of this universe. the rich elite billionaire assholes. They've just hijacked it. They've set themselves up as rulers. They're not the true rulers. We are all are the rulers. We should be in a round table situation. We are all the rulers. And so that's why we need that meritocratic society where it's not governed by rich elite bullshit, but it's rather governed by those who care about the world, care about you, have the consciousness to understand what we are and where we are rational, are compassionate, are highly intelligent, etc. So my friends, keep your wits about you, keep your eyes open, understand what's happening. It might take a while, who knows? It might happen quickly, but keep your eyes around you. Just be aware. Just be conscious of what's going on. And as we enter into this, constantly be spreading information, constantly waking people up. And that is the road to building our new world, New Terra. I want to give a big shout out to everyone who supports on Patreon, especially our top supporters, Cassidy, Alana, Renaissance Fairy, Jordy, Michael. Thank you so much. Alana is our newest Reality Shaper tier member. Thank you so much. I appreciate it all. If you want to support on Patreon, you can. It's the best way to support my work with all the deplatforming on social media, and Facebook means the world to me. You get access to our hidden Discord server, the Citadel. You get access to my hidden lecture notes, and you get access to our weekly secret live streams, and we're having one right after this. So thank you guys so much. I appreciate it.